Early game Terraria can be quite challenging for the melee class due to the absence of powerful weapons. Unlike rangers which have guns or mages which have staffs, melee players don't have many solid options which deal good damage from a safe distance. Surprisingly, there is in fact a great option out there, however it might not be exactly what you think. I'm talking about the combat wrench. The combat wrench is a boomerang which is dropped by the mechanic NPC upon death. Due to the obscure nature this is obtained, the combat wrench is rarely used. Nevertheless, this is not to say it's particularly difficult to obtain. You simply need to have your mechanic move in once, and then you can kill her as many times as you like. Let's take a look at the best way you can do this. As many of you know, the mechanic is a post-Skeletron NPC, meaning unfortunately, purist melee classes will still struggle for the first portion of the game. I'd recommend getting your hands on the chain knife to help with the Skeletron fight. Once Skeletron is down, dive into the dungeon and head to the cavern layer or below to find the bound mechanic. This may take a bit of back and forward as it's not guaranteed for it to spawn every time. For me, it didn't take very long at all. Once she's found, interact with her and now she'll be a town NPC and respawn back at base. Now here's the fun part. The combat wrench has a 12.5% chance to drop, meaning you might need to kill her multiple times to get it to drop. Methods for this could include dousing buckets of lava on her head, which will get the job done, but will quickly make your world a mess. So instead, I'd make a pit of lava near your town and craft some boulders with 6 stone bricks at a heavy workbench. Placing one of these bad boys and hitting it with your pick should send it tumbling towards your mechanic and knock her straight in the pit of lava. Another effective way to kill NPCs are with dart traps, which ironically would require some stock bought from the mechanic. She's quite literally selling you her own death. Whatever works for you, hopefully you can get it to drop quickly like I had it here. Now then, let's take a look at how it performs. Despite being a town NPC drop, which is usually a joke or lore item not designed to be actually used, the combat wrench stats are shockingly good, making it potentially the best pre-Hardmode boomerang in the game, even beating the likes of the flamerang in certain scenarios. This is due to the way it attacks. During a pass, the wrench hits the target multiple times and can actually pierce, dealing damage to multiple targets. This results in significantly higher DPS compared to another boomerang, like the Thorn Chakram for example, which has the same base damage. For a melee weapon, the combat wrench can be extremely effective at crowd control. Here's what it does against large groups. You can see how it hits the slimes multiple times on each pass, dealing far more than its base damage in one throw. It also seems that the more tightly packed the enemies are, the better it will perform. Of course, the question is, how does it perform on bosses? And although at this point in progression, I'd normally say it needs to be good enough for the Wall of Flesh to be useful. However, now we have Deiclops to fight, and I think the combat wrench handled it rather well. Of course, the thing to remember here is, this is no handgun or water bolt, however this is the melee class we're talking about, which doesn't have many good alternatives until mid-hard mode. The combat wrench deals solid enough damage on Deiclops and allows you to keep a good distance away to avoid taking contact damage. In a very respectable time, Deiclops is down. In summary, I think the combat wrench is a hidden gem for the melee class. Not only does it deal a fantastic DPS and keeps the player at a safe distance, it can also be obtained very easily only with a bit of patience. I just wish it was obtainable a little bit earlier in the progression, as the first few bosses are still a struggle for the melee class. What do you think? Is the combat wrench worth getting, or would you rather stick with more risky close range options? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. For more Terraria content like this, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.